Last time we saw you, you were a councilman. Now you're a comptroller. How
Hasn't
things
been
working?
that long? You're kidding me.
It's been that long.
Well, I have had the privilege, and it's truly a privilege to serve as New York City Comptroller for 7.5 months now. And it's a challenging time to be essentially the chief financial officer of the city. We've got budget difficulties, as you can imagine. We've got an economy that is struggling. But I am grateful every day for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. And I think we are off to a strong start, and there are lots of things down the pike.
About a month and a half into the city's actual new budget year, and fiscally, how is the city making out?
The city is fairly solid compared with the state, compared with other major cities and municipalities across the country. I think we've made wise choices in recent years. I do give credit to the city council and to the mayor for making prudent budgetary decisions several years ago, which led to a buildup of some cushion that we are now tapping into this fiscal year. The city council passed an on-time balanced budget at the end of June, and that's certainly an accomplishment in itself. Very difficult choices that they made, obviously. Some service reductions, but nonetheless, they did pass the budget. And now we have to get ready, even though it's just a month and a half into the new year. We have to start getting all of our acts ready for the next budget, which will be much, much more difficult because now we have used up all the cushion that has been built up.
Have you been able to recover from the fact that, considering the state took so long to pass its budget, and now being able to pass its budget with the things going on in the city, how has the city been able to deal with that?
Well, the state did finally pass its budget a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we're all happy about that. The good thing is that it generally did not have a direct impact on the city's budget, just because at the end of June, the city's budget was already anticipating the worst case scenario that could come down from the state. And so the state budget did not harm us in the city, more so than it already harmed us back in June when we passed the city budget. Some good news is that Congress in Washington, they passed a budget extension as part of the Jobs and Education bill, but it provided $400 million of Medicaid relief to New York City. Not the whole 600 we really needed, but 400 is a good way there. And then an additional $200 million of education aid that we clearly need to teach our kids for the future.
From the beginning of your inception in office, one of the things that you always talked about was having this financial transparency, the need for New York City to have a transparent. You come out with Checkbook NYC. Arlene shared a little bit with us in the piece. How's that going, considering the fact that now New Yorkers are able to take a look and see pretty much the finances of the city all one click away?
I want to thank you for bringing that up because it has been one of the major initiatives my office had launched earlier this year. I talked about it back in March that we were going to undertake this, and I'm thankful that the commissioners and the numerous city agencies were cooperative and that they worked with us to get this online. And I was very happy that we did it on time, as I promised, at the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1st. And now, as you say, one click away. Anybody can take a look at the details of our city government's expenditures. Every level of detail, from the payment amount to the payee, the agency, the date, the purpose. You can search, you can download, you can sort. It's like looking at your own checkbook from your bank's website. It's that easy to access, and there's that much information available. No. And it really is your checkbook, because this is the public's money, and it's a transparency that is unprecedented. This is the largest effort of its kind anywhere in the country, and I'm very proud of the fact that my office has gotten a number of inquiries from other cities all throughout.
Now, opponents of this actually say this puts you out there for more criticism. Money's always being criticized as well. This runs the possibility of being criticized even more, and with good reason. Your thoughts?
You're absolutely right, and I have seen a few surprises of my own in my own office with regard to how money has been expended. There's no question that it makes people uncomfortable, at least from at the beginning, when this level of detail is being given to the public. But in the end, we all have to remember, myself included, that this is not our money, this is the public's money. And to the extent that we are now all fully understanding that anybody could see these transactions, it makes all of us, again, myself included, all of us in city government, that much more careful, that much more judicious about how we spend the public's money.
How are we going to be able to close this budget gap going into 2012, 2013? I mean, a lot of talk has been centered around the fact of New York has to close this budget gap. What are you looking to see done in order to do that?
Well, there are short-term and long-term solutions. In the near term, my office adds the greatest amount of value by looking very carefully at city agencies through the audit process, making sure that every agency is doing as much as it can for as little as possible, not overspending in any way or inappropriately or inefficiently spending the taxpayers' money. This year, in the past 7 months, we've uncovered close to $1 billion worth of savings that agencies could and should be pursuing with regard to just beefing up their own operations. Just 2 weeks ago, the Economic Development Corporation, which was the subject of one of my office's audits, agreed to relinquish $120 million. That's $120 million, no small chunk of change, right, that can be better spent in our schools, in job creation programs, in housing, health needs, things that people throughout New York City need. In the long term, what we really need to do is revitalize the economy. The economy is starting to do a little bit better. Our economic indicators are starting to turn positive after 2 years of declines. Unemployment is starting to head downwards. It's down to 9.5%, up from 10.5, down from 10.5%. But of course, 9.5 is still very high. And we know in communities throughout New York, there are some communities that have much higher unemployment rates. And so the key to long-term prosperity and getting us out of these difficult economic times is job creation.
Mm-hmm. One of the things people are also concerned about is the fact that there is this absorbent amount of foreclosures due to the economy and the way that things are going. What's being done to prevent these unnecessary foreclosures? Because there's some people who we understand have to be foreclosed on, but there are a lot of people out there that are facing unnecessary foreclosures.
Well, I think not enough is being done. That's the unfortunate reality. We have a time when bank profits are on the increase, and unfortunately, so are mortgage foreclosures, people losing their homes. This is an unacceptable situation. Now, I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that when people take out an obligation, when people borrow money, you have to pay it back.
Absolutely.
No question about that. But the reality is that we've been, these last couple of years, in the most difficult economic recession that people have seen in generations. So much so that it took the federal government hundreds of billions of dollars to bail out the big banks. And yet, as the banks have recovered and their profitability has not only returned, but returned in a big way, people are still losing their homes. Every time there's a foreclosure, it's not just the family losing their homes. That's bad enough. But it's also a big loss for the bank itself. And every foreclosure is a dent in our regional economy. So it's a big problem. I have gone together with a number of leaders, dozens of leaders and elected officials all across the city, calling on our major banks to do more. There are plenty of reports that indicate that if the banks paid more attention to this problem and they took the requests for loan modifications more seriously, loan modification requests from the mortgage holders themselves, then, the mortgage borrowers themselves, then there would be a better systematic way of modifying these loans in a way that will allow people to pay off their obligations, at the same time stay in their homes, reduce the amount of losses that the banks are experiencing, and not continue to put all these dents in our cities and regional economy.